Hello. Thank you for tuning into my channel. It's Vlogmas in July, day 4, and it's a Throwback Thursday. So if you want to review how we make a typical bow tie block like this one, please stay tuned. The inspiration from this block actually comes from this quilt that I put together back in 2017, probably 2016 and 2017. This is a bow tie block quilt. I'll zoom in on the picture of the whole thing so that you can see it, but I only have a fourth of it here now. This quilt, I was inspired by the fabric. I made it with a layer cake. And what really inspired me was that the fabric, it reminded me of like old school ties and stuff, like from when I was growing up, ties that my daddy might have worn or that the older gentleman might have worn. And so I wanted to make a bow tie quilt from this fabric. I think it was called Hadley. And I just really love the line. I bought a layer cake and I think this is Kona Snow that I use for the background. You can see all those cool little bow ties. And I took the leftovers because one layer cake square will make one block. So I took the leftovers and made a scrappy border for the sides, really cute. And then I put a bow tie in each corner of the quilt. So I really enjoyed making this quilt, and I individually quilted every single block on my domestic machine, and I did a variety of different patterns. There's kind of a little stain on it. I probably need to wash this quilt. But I do have a playlist. I'll link the playlist for all of this quilting in the description, so you can go back and check it out if you want to. But this is my first inspiration for this block, so we're going to go back to it. Now, another inspiration that I found was in my great-grandmother's quilt. This is a quilt that she completely stitched by hand. And as I was examining it, I noticed that she had several bow tie blocks in this quilt. I think there are, 4 by 4, so 16 bow tie blocks. And what's cool about this, it is completely hand-pieced. And I like that for several of them, she used one fabric for the bow tie and then a contrasting fabric in the center. That's pretty neat. And so some of the ones that are really cute, this one, wait, where is it? This one right here, that's pretty cute. This one just below it with the little polka dot bow tie, or in this case, it could be either way because she used the same fabric. There's one more up here. Let me see, where am I? This one, and that also could go either way, but the contrast is in the center. And if you look at how she pieced these, so let's see, so this one right here, I'll zoom out just a little bit. So if we take a look at just this block, she put a diamond in the center and then stitched all these pieces around it. So really neat. I am in awe of that, how she would have put that together. And fortunately, we don't have to do that with our domestic machine, but these are really cute blocks. I should have measured them. Let's see how big these are. Let me grab this ruler. This ruler is not ideal, but it's the closest one to me. So we're going to get a rough measurement to see how big these blocks are. So these are, let's see, they look to be about 5 and maybe, I would say maybe 5.5 finished in the quilt. So they would have been like around 6 inches, but pretty cute. Go Grandma Maddie, go. I love these blocks. So let's go to the machine and create our own bow tie blocks. What I like about the bow tie block is that it is both beginner friendly and it is scrap friendly. And also it's basically a 4-patch. So you see 4 big squares and then we have these little corners here. And so let's go through that. In order to start this, I actually went to 2 of my scrap buckets, containers. These are my 5-inch squares and these are my 2.5-inch squares. So from each one of these buckets, I pulled two 5-inch color squares and then two 5-inch background squares. And I wanted them to match. They don't absolutely have to match. And then from my 2.5-inch squares, I pulled two that match these other squares. So you could do contrasting like my great grandmother, but I'm just choosing to do them the same. If I wanted to use, for example, this gray, I would definitely choose a contrasting one because I only have this in 5-inch squares and I only have two of those because they were a part of a charm pack. But for our purposes today, our blocks are going to match. Now I went ahead and I pulled everything here. The block that I practiced at first was this dark blue block, but I'm going to use a slightly brighter color for this block. So I have this lime green. And I have too many 2.5-inch squares. So I'm going to put this back here right quick so I don't forget it. All right, so I have my 2.5-inch squares here, and then my two 5-inch, and then I picked the same background for these for the 5-inch squares. My first step is going to be to take the little squares, and we're just going to draw a diagonal line on the back of them because we're going to make the corners for this quilt. For this background square. All right, so all I'm doing is drawing this line here on the back of each one of these, trying to go from corner to corner as best I can. And I'm just using a regular pen because it won't get caught anywhere. But use whatever marking tool you want for the back of these blocks. It won't be seen. All right. Okay, so now for the next part, I'm going to just take this square, put it on one corner here. And for this block, we're going to stitch on the line. I'm actually going to try to stay just a thread width to the right of the line, and you'll see why in just a minute. I have a leader on here. I'm making another type of scrap block as my leader ender project, the Jacob's Ladder. So I have the squares here, but I think I might use a different leader ender in just a second. Okay, so just taking this, and I'm just going right on the right side of that line. Okay, and I'll do it for both. And then here. And if I was making a lot of these blocks, I could definitely do some chain piecing. But I like the idea of making one of these at a time. That way, if you're done with making blocks, you can just be done and go to the next thing. Okay. All right. I forgot to turn my sewing light on. Oh, I hope you can see better now. Okay. And then I'm going to do a little ender piece right here. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to take these off of the machine. And I'm using like an ivory colored thread, so I don't know how well you can see it. But I try to keep it just to the right of the line. I'm going to press this and fold it back this way. I'll do that off camera and I'll come back and we'll do the next step. This step is complete. I need to now take my rotary cutter and a ruler, and I'm going to cut off this little extra part here so that all we're left with is this. Now, I don't know if you can tell, I have a little bit of hangover right here. I'm just going to line up my ruler and snip it off. This block, it can be pretty forgiving, so I'm not going to stress too much about it. But let's go ahead and cut these bits off. I have a 1/4 inch seam there. And so this can be a tiny half square triangle if you choose to, and I probably will do those. Okay. All right. So we have both of these. I'm going to line up my ruler. Actually, I'm going to use my 6.5 inch ruler to square this to 5 inches, just to make sure that it's accurate. So as accurate as it can be. I'm not going to super stress if it's not perfect, but you know, just to cut off these little side parts. Sorry if my arm is in the way. All right, so you see it's just a little sliver there. Okay, now it's time to lay out our bow tie. So I'm going to put one color square here and then a background square with the this part pointing in. And then on the bottom row, it's just the opposite. Okay, so we're going to stitch this side to this side, and then we'll come back and stitch the top row to the bottom row. I will speed up the camera just a little bit, but I will let you see this whole process. I hope you were able to see how simple this bow tie block is to put together. It is super duper cute. I want to show you all of the blocks together. So this is the first one that I did. All right. Hopefully you can see the background on the camera. Here's the second one that we just did on the video. And while I was working on the second one, for my leader ender, I decided to make a little tiny one. So look at that, pretty cute. And so these started again with the 5-inch squares in the main color and the background, and then 2.5-inch squares for the little snowball corners. Same for this one. And they not finished, but they are about 9.5. I may have to cut them down a little bit, but these finish at about 9.5. The little one I made with 2.5-inch strips for the main fabric and the background, and then 1.5-inch strips for the little snowball corners. I think it is super cute. It finished at about 4.5. So just two different sizes if you want to explore the bow tie block. It'll be a lot of fun, really easy to make, and you can go through your scraps and pull out just enough fabric to make 1 or 2 blocks, and it'll be super nice in a quilt. If you have, wait, let me think. There are lots of different ways to set these once you want to make a quilt. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these because it's just for Vlogmas, so I haven't decided if I want to make a whole quilt out of them or if I just want to use these in a separate project. If you have any questions about what you've seen in this video, leave them in the comments below. Thumbs up this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!